Everybody says that the number one skill that you need to have as an entrepreneur is the ability to sell. Sell, sell, sell. Well, that's a big lie. I'm probably one of the worst salespeople in the world, yet I've still been able to see a lot of success as an entrepreneur. When most people think about this concept of selling, they're thinking, how can I convince this person to give me money in exchange for what I'm selling? That doesn't sit very well with me. I don't want to convince you to give me money. I don't want to pressure you to give me money, and I don't want you to feel forced that you or anybody, a business that I'm working with, has to give me money. This is why I never saw much success in traditional sales roles, but I did see a lot of success as an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur for a long time, and everybody talked about how you needed to learn how to sell, so I decided to go out and get my realtor's license. That way I could sell real estate. I was already involved in real estate because by this time I had started investing in real estate, but I wanted to make some more money, and what better way to make money than by selling real estate, because now not only will I get more experience in real estate, but I'm also going to get experience when it comes to selling. And when it comes to real estate, the way you get paid is the bigger home you sell, the bigger your commission check. Typically, if you sell a $100,000 home, the commission is going to be 6%, and that 6% is split by the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So the person who sold the home, meaning listed the home for sale, they're going to get $3,000, and the person who brought a buyer will also make $3,000. But the thing that held me back was I kept looking at the finances, not my own finances, but the finances of the buyer. I would ask the buyer, are you sure that you want to buy this $500,000 home? Because it might be a little bit out of your budget. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I sold homes to people who bought a home that was bigger than what I thought they should have bought financially, but I encourage people to buy smaller rather than bigger. Now, from a salesperson perspective, that doesn't really make much sense, because the smaller your home that you sell, the smaller your commission checks. What I learned very quickly though, is that I'm not the best salesperson, and I'm never going to be the best salesperson, because I don't have it in me to try to convince somebody to buy something or do something that they may or may not want. However, that being said, my businesses have been able to generate millions of dollars worth of business without me having to force a product down somebody's throat, because instead of trying to sell, I focus on two things. Number one, we focus on demonstrating our value, and number two, I focus on hiring people who are smarter than I am. I've always hated the idea of networking events. You go to this place to try to meet a whole bunch of fake and superficial people. All they're doing is giving you their business cards, and you're having these fake conversations with people, hoping that you're gonna be able to do some business with them. I never liked the idea of it, and my wife would always tell me that I need to go and network and meet people because your network is your net worth, right? Well, I never got any business from any one of these networking events. However, when I focused on building my own value, now I don't have to go to networking events. People want to work with me because now they know who I am. They know what my values are. They know what my capabilities are, and they've seen my success. And because I've been able to demonstrate this value, I don't have to go to these networking events and act a certain way to try to get business. People want to work with me because I focus on creating this instead of trying to demonstrate some fake value. Do you think that Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musks of the world are going to networking events trying to find people to work for them or trying to find new business opportunities? No. The business opportunities come to them because everybody wants to work with Jeff Bezos and everybody wants to work with Elon Musk because they've seen their value. When you focus on demonstrating this value, selling becomes a whole lot easier. Like, there's a lot of rules on the internet on how to sell products or services that are over $5,000 or over $10,000. But the reality is you don't have to follow these traditional rules if people understand the value that you offer. For example, when most people on the internet talk about selling a product over $5,000 or $10,000, they talk about how you have to get on the phone with this person, you have to have them go through some webinar, they have to go through all these processes to understand the value. That way you can pitch them on this $5,000 or $10,000 offer. Well, just recently, I was asked to speak at a conference. It's a virtual conference. My agent sent me a message saying, hey, Jaspreet, you were invited to speak at this conference. You'd have to speak for 45 minutes. It's completely virtual, and they're offering to pay you $20,000 to speak for 45 minutes. Are you available to do it? So then I went to my calendar, I looked at the date, I was available, and I said, yes, I'll be available, and that was it. I don't have to get on the phone. I don't have to have a team of salespeople trying to pitch them and show them the value. Instead, they went to my agent, and they pitched because they wanted me. The reason why so many people focus on the selling is because selling is something that you can start today. You can start calling up a whole bunch of agencies and offer to speak at their event and charge high amounts of money to do that. But pitching the value is a little bit different because now you have to wait for people to come to you. And in order to demonstrate this value, it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of time. And most people don't have it in them to go through that work and time in order to be able to fully demonstrate this value. Now, I'm not saying this is what you have to do. What I'm saying is that there's an alternative to just selling a product, because if you can demonstrate the value, the selling becomes a whole lot easier, and you really don't even have to sell because people want your value so badly. The reason people are willing to pay high dollars is because they really want this value. When your value exceeds the price, when your value exceeds the cost, it's a no-brainer. And now you don't really have to sell the product because people, customers, and businesses so deeply want this value, they so deeply want this product, and they so deeply want this service that they're willing to pay whatever the price is. And if you can demonstrate a value that badly, well, now all of a sudden you have made the pain of the buying so high because people want this value so bad that they don't even have to go through the traditional sales pitch. They'll just give you their money. I'll give you another example, and this time I'll even demonstrate it for you right here. So in 2022, I created a company called Briefs Media, and we started off by starting a newsletter called Market Briefs, which is a free newsletter for investors to learn about what's happening in the financial markets. The way that we make money is we have a business development team that sells, but not actually sells. We demonstrate the value to our sponsors. These are big businesses who purchase advertisements in our newsletter. Well, through 2022, we haven't spent a penny on advertising yet. I'm sure we will spend money on advertising in the near future, but up until now, we haven't spent any money in advertising, but I've been able to grow the newsletter to over 200,000 readers. Why? Because I demonstrate the value through the videos on my channel, and then I say, hey, if you want to learn more, you can join my free newsletter, which is Market Briefs. And later on in 2022, this is about November 2022, because November 11th, we launched it on Veterans Day, we launched Business Briefs, which is my business newsletter for entrepreneurs, founders, and business owners. Again, a completely free resource for entrepreneurs who want to stay up to date on what's happening in terms of business trends and innovation ideas. That way now you can do your business better. We keep you up to date on what's happening with innovation and funding and all the things happening in the business economy. That way you can make smarter decisions in your business. Now again, Business Briefs is completely free. If you haven't joined yet, I'll put the link to how you can join down in the description below. But what am I doing? I'm showing and demonstrating the value because I'm teaching and then providing a resource beyond that. And let me even take that one step further, because if you're an entrepreneur, the way that you can market your products has completely changed over the last decade. I read a book a few years ago called Permission Marketing by Seth Godin. And this is where he really opened my eyes to this idea of something what he calls permission marketing. And permission marketing is essentially, how can you ask for people's permission to market your product to them? Here's the reality. People hate advertisements. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on your ad. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is. People hate advertisements. How do I know that? Because people are willing to spend money to avoid any sort of advertising. People went to Netflix because it was advertisement free. Now, of course, you can go the advertisement model, but people like the idea of no advertisements, and they were willing to pay money for that. People even pay money to YouTube. That way they can watch YouTube videos without any sort of advertisements. However, in this new digital age, you can get paid to advertise your own product. Now think about that for a second. In a world where people are paying to avoid advertising, how in the world can you get paid to advertise your own product? Well, it goes back to this. What is the value that you're providing? This video is going to have advertisements on it because YouTube puts advertisements on these videos. Meaning, me, my company, is going to generate advertising revenue from this video and the other videos on my channel. Now, while I'm generating advertising dollars to provide this value, I'm also promoting my companies. Meaning, I am getting paid to promote my companies. How am I able to do that? Because I focus on this. I focus on the value. I don't focus on the sale. And this is where it requires you to think a little bit differently, because most people are focused on selling. They're focused on bringing in this customer. They're focused on bringing in this lead, and they want to convert this customer and convert them into a sale. But that's not how you build trust. If you want to build trust, you have to focus on the value, and then this value has to do the selling for you. That's why one of our core values here at the Minority Mindset Companies is always lead with value. We don't do any sort of hard selling because that doesn't align with our core values, but it also doesn't align with the way that we want to do business. We want to lead with value because we don't want anybody to give us money who we feel shouldn't be a customer. So we are the ones filtering out our customers, where in most businesses, it's the customers trying to decide if they want to work with the business. See, that traditional idea of selling is for people who don't understand this modern way of being able to demonstrate value. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not going to have any sort of sales process, because the sales process is now, how do you get somebody to understand what your product is? But there's a difference between having the sales process and trying to force a product down someone's throat, which is a traditional idea of selling, which is where you're trying to show somebody why they need to buy, why you want to persuade somebody to buy a product. But for me, I don't really like that because I don't want to have somebody buy a product who I don't think is a good fit. Now, this is where I want to have people who are smarter than I am on my team, because while I am not the best salesperson, you can also hire great salespeople. We have a business development team. Now, this business development team does do your selling, but they don't do your selling in the traditional way. The selling that we focus on, again, is now how do we find the right leads and how do we make sure that our companies that we're selling products to, meaning our advertisements to, are a fit, not just for our brand, but also for our customers. It's a different way of approaching the sale. Now again, I am not the best salesperson. I don't like the idea of trying to teach somebody the value, trying to teach somebody the product, and then get them to purchase the product. Instead, you can hire somebody who is smarter than you to do that selling. See, I want to make sure that this is clear because selling is a part of every business. You're eventually going to have to sell your product to somebody. But the question is, how are you doing the selling and who's doing the selling? Now, the how is by leading with value. We don't do selling by trying to pressure somebody or trying to shove a product down their throat. Now, who does the selling is, again, not me, because I don't like selling and I'm also not good at selling. Yet I'm an entrepreneur and everybody says that if you want to become successful as an entrepreneur, you have to be a great seller. Well, you can bypass that by just hiring a smarter seller than you are. The traditional idea of selling is for people and businesses who don't have enough leads coming into their business. If you have sufficient leads, if you have more than enough leads, if you have a full calendar of people that want to buy a product, now you don't have to sell the product. You can be more selective. Now you can decide who you want to sell your product to, because our business development team is rejecting 80, if not 90% of advertisement requests that come to our business. Why? Because we don't want to work with every company. We want to work with select companies. Now, of course, there is a sales process. Our business development team has to show our product. We have to sell our value, but we also want to be picky with who we work with. Everybody talks about how you have to be able to sell your vision, how you have to be able to sell your product, and if you're not willing to sell it, who else is going to be able to do that? But the way that I put my focus on this idea of selling is not by selling the product, it's just by demonstrating the value so people want to work with me. And that's not by shoving it down someone's throat, it's just by demonstrating the value. The way that we demonstrate value is through education. I educate about something, and if you want more, well, then you can join business briefs. You can join market briefs. We have resources for you depending on whatever it is that you want to learn more about. So instead of focusing on the sale, I focus in on the value. And again, if you don't want to be the one doing the selling yourself, because if you're like me and you don't like the idea of trying to sell something to somebody, well, one, you create core values on how to sell, but then you can have somebody smarter than you to actually do the selling. We have people smarter than me in my companies, people who are smarter than me on the tech side, people who are smarter than me on the video editing side, people who are smarter than me at the content creation side, and people who are smarter than me on the research side. All of these are people who are working that are specialized in their field, and I, as the entrepreneur, am working to bring the team together and to create a vision for what we're trying to do. Your job as the entrepreneur doesn't have to be to shove your product down someone's throat. Your job doesn't have to be to sell your product to your customers. Your job needs to be to demonstrate the value, to show your team and to show your clients why you are the best and why they should be working with you. And if you can demonstrate this value to enough people, well, now you're going to have a big enough pipeline where now you can be pickier with who you're selling to. What if now you don't just invest $4 a day, but you do growing contributions, meaning every year you contribute a little bit more than $4 a day. Every year you contribute, let's just say, an additional 5%. That means this year you're investing $4 a day. Next year, you start investing $4.20